Welcome to the Double R Show, the podcast that features everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, directed and produced by Paul Robertson and hosted by the voice of Lincoln City, Roger Robertson.
Our next guest is State Representative David Gomberg, a gentleman that I have had the good fortune to know for a number of years.
Indeed, Roger. I mean, we used to be on the air together.
Yes.
Back when it was Channel TV 10 here in Lincoln City. That was
a lot of years ago.
Well, yeah, the specific number better left unsaid.
You were at the Chamber of Commerce.
I was. I came to Lincoln City to run the Chamber of Commerce. And I'm sorry, let me just tell the governor I'll call her back.
That's rather interesting.
But sorry. Yeah, I came here to run the Chamber of Commerce, and then Susie and I started our own business, which we grew over the course of 35 years, and a kite business.
Right.
I was speaking earlier to the Oregon Coast Learning Institute, and they wanted to know my background, and they were introducing me saying, this is David Gomberg. He got his bachelor's at Oregon State in political science, his master's in economics, history, and political science, and then he got an MBA. And I said, yeah, and what did I do with all of that? I started a kite business. But yeah, we ran a kite business here. Although that's a bit of a misnomer, our kite business was primarily manufacturing and wholesale.
All over the world.
Yeah, we traveled. We did performances with our really big kites. We did the Super Bowl. We did the Millennium Celebration in London, in the middle of Westminster Bridge. That was an interesting night. And we performed in 30 countries around the world. So, and then finally, we opened up stores here on the coast when other people were shutting stores down. That was a good run, but finally in January of 2020, we made the decision that we would shut down at the end of the year and retire, having no sense at all of what 2020 was going to look like. Mm-hmm. But things went smoothly enough, and Susan has since now retired, and me, it just frees up more time for the part of my life that pays the least.
Do you miss it?
Yeah, some days.
Someday,
I tell people I used to go to Bangkok and to Cape Town and to Paris, and now I go to Beaver, Hebo, and Yachats. It's a different life, and I really enjoy. I cherish the opportunity I have right now to do things, but there are days that I miss the stuff I used to do. Sure.
Speaking of things today, new year, new legislation, or is there that much legislation that has been ushered into 2024?
Well, we had the long legislative session, and as you know, in Oregon, we have a 6-month session in odd-numbered years. We have a 1-month session in even-numbered years that is designed for kind of tweaks and emergencies and budget adjustments. But this long legislative session, I would say that most of the action was designed to go into effect sooner. Mm-hmm. For example,
shorter timeline.
Well, the governor's the first thing on the agenda was the governor's emergency declaration for housing. Mm-hmm. I mean, that wasn't designed to wait nearly a year to go into effect. It wasn't even designed to wait till the end of the legislative session and the new budget cycle to go into effect. We had a huge housing issue. She wanted to address it right away. Brought forward legislation that was going to put $200 million on the street. By the time we were done, we put about $500 million into housing, homelessness, and transitional shelter. But that first big act, we passed it and it went into effect right away. And not to digress too much, but the emergency declaration, I had some issues with the emergency declaration for a simple reason, that the emergency didn't seem to apply to us. It was written.
And when you say yes, we're talking about the coast.
Well, it was written in a way that it applied to the metropolitan areas across Oregon and not the rural communities. In fact, 26 rural counties were left out of the emergency declaration. And I'm not faulting the governor for that. I'm faulting the process. It says, you have to do this kind of analysis. You got to show these kind of numbers and do these kind of counts. Well, counting homeless people on the coast is different than counting people in downtown Portland. The counting process they use quite literally is to drive down the highway and count the number of homeless people they see. And here on the coast, people aren't living on the streets; they're living back in the woods.
Right.
We don't see them. The counting process didn't count homeless kids, which I think is a major issue, and particularly here, where 1 in 5 of our kids is categorized as homeless. But so They did this process and they left out 26 counties. The next day, as chair of the Coastal Caucus, the group of coastal legislators, we wrote to the governor asking her to broaden the emergency declaration and to bring rural counties, in particular coastal counties, into it. And she actually opened the door to do that. By the time we were done, the committee that I co-chaired had added $26 million to the bill to support rural housing. And again, to your main question, that got implemented very quickly. The work we did on semiconductors, and Oregon is one of the leading producers in this country of semiconductors, those little gizmos that are in everything from your garage door opener to your TV remote control to your phone. They control everything we do in life. And we were putting money aside to jumpstart that industry and to receive money from the federal government to do it. That was another big bill that took effect. So there were a lot of big things that happened. There's things that are going to be taking effect the beginning of the year. I think one of them that comes to mind is increases in fees at the DMV. You go to the Department of Motor Vehicles to get a new driver's license, it's going to cost you $4 more. That money's going to keep offices like our rural offices here on the coast open. Which
is critically important.
Oh, absolutely. So I was supportive of that. But those new fees go into effect in January. There's going to be legislation dealing with speed cameras that goes into effect around Oregon the beginning of the year. I think probably one of the most consequential things that takes effect January 1st was the new children's tax credit, that if you are under a certain income threshold and you have children, you can get a tax benefit, not encouraging you to have more children, but helping you offset the cost of the children that you have, and that's going to affect. So there's a lot of things like that are going to be taking effect. Here's one for you: changes in the drunk driving laws, so that if you're under the influence riding a bicycle, you'll no longer lose your driver's license if you're cited for riding a bicycle under the influence of intoxicants.
How about if it's motorized?
I don't know where that falls. My sense is it's bikes that are in bike lanes as opposed to motorbikes that are in streets.
Okay.
So, but that's an interesting distinction, and we can talk more about motorized and electric bicycles and cars and the consequences all of that's going to have for our highway system later in the interview, maybe.
David Gomberg has been our guest, and we'll continue with David in just a couple of minutes. He is our state representative, and we'll be back right after this.
We at La Roca are proud of our food, but don't take our word for it. Read the reviews. One person wrote, "The service was friendly and efficient." Another writes, "La Roca has become one of our favorites because it's authentic Mexican food."
Well, greetings. This is Marnie Whipple with Holland America Line, and we are delighted and honored to be a longtime partner with Roger and the team at Always Traveling. We have some exciting news to share with you today, and that is that in Dawson City in the Yukon Territory, the First Nations group of the Tronjekowichan have now been awarded the wonderful recognition of being a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The aim with this in the Yukon Territory is to really share the story of the Indigenous people, the colonialism, and truly the history of the Klondike Gold Rush. So join us and Roger and the team on a beautiful Holland America Line cruise tour through Alaska, Southeast Alaska by cruise, continue on up into Denali National Park and Fairbanks, and then add on even more wonderful adventure, now flying from Fairbanks to Dawson City on an exclusive land tour, heading into Dawson and now this wonderful UNESCO World Heritage Site, and continue on from Dawson into the heart also of the Klondike, Whitehorse, take a wonderful ride into Skagway, Alaska, and continue from Skagway down into Vancouver. It's an incredible journey.
When looking for the bestsellers of today and yesterday, look no further than Bob's Beach Books. Hi, I'm Diana Portwood, and on behalf of my sister Emily at Roberts Bookshop, we thank our dad, Bob, for the vision he had in establishing our 2 family-owned bookstores in Lincoln City.
Northwest Septic Service is your one-stop shop for all your septic needs.
Northwest Septic Service offers pumping, maintenance, repair, and inspections with one call, 541-994-6977.
Buying or selling a home? Northwest Septic Service can inspect your sewer line or an entire septic system.
Old or failing septic system? Northwest Septic Service can rejuvenate most drain fields, saving you thousands of dollars. 541-994-6977.
Serving Lincoln, Tillamook, and Yamhill counties, Northwest Septic Service. I continue to believe that we have more in common than we do separating us. I see that every day in my swing district, which is neither red nor blue, but purple. State Representative David Gomberg, but purple.
Well, Roger, we live here at the coast. I hear people talk about rural and urban divides here in Oregon. And when I hear that, what I'm hearing is Eastern Oregon and the I-5 corridor, and they don't talk enough about the coast. And yeah, here on the coast, we're not deep Democratic blue. We're not bright red Republican. We are a combination of both. I'm one of the few swing seats like that here in the state. And so I think it's important to take all perspectives into account. And as I do that, and as I talk to more and more people, I am regularly reminded that we have more in common than we do separating us. Our politics are sadly divisive these days. But at the core of it are people, and people who have fundamental concerns. Taking care of the future of their kids and their grandkids, the quality of our environment, having good jobs, having good roads. We can have long conversations about how we accomplish and provide those things. But the core of it is that I think we have fundamental values in common, and that should bring us closer together rather than further apart.
We're about to enter into the next session, legislative session come next month. How will that philosophy transpire into that session?
Well, let's start with that. The big issues this coming session are going to be addiction, behavioral health, and housing. Changes to Measure 110, and how do we deal with the increasing and sadly public use of drugs. Mm-hmm. Oregon voters have said that they wanted to decriminalize it and get people into treatment instead of into jails. We're finding that's not working very well. Do we get rid of that law, or do we fix that law? Leaving it as is, I don't think, is a very good option. I fall into the let's fix it category. But that's an example of where we want to solve the problem, and there are different attitudes about how you do that. We're going to be spending money on housing. And here is a better example of where we've got common issues and common problems, and I think we can work together to do better things. Look, we're putting gobs of money into housing. If you drive through Lincoln City, you see construction going on everywhere, and I think that's a good thing. Perhaps you don't see as much the shelter and transitional housing that we put into places like Phoenix Rising and Helping Hands that have got transition beds for people to get them out of tents, out of cars, out of the woods, and on their way to a more secure future. But the governor wants us to spend $600 million on housing. Great. My argument is that we need to make sure we have the infrastructure to support that housing. And by that, I mean we need attention to our water systems and our sewer systems. And that's not a Democratic or a Republican concern.
That's nuts and bolts.
That's an Oregon concern. Mm-hmm. And so I've got a proposal that is being co-sponsored by an equal number of Democrats and Republicans.
Very good.
To put money into failing water systems. It's not just a matter of supporting new housing. It's a matter of supporting the housing and the people that we've got now. I mean, here's two examples real quick. The city of Siletz, 1,100 people, and they've got a $12 million sewer system problem. How do 1,100 people pay that kind of money?
Not gonna happen.
The answer is they can tax themselves all day long, but at some point they're going to need help. And the proposal I've got coming forward is going to provide some help to Siletz. Different kind of problem down in Newport. They rely on one of the most vulnerable earthen dams in the entire state. A moderate earthquake, not a big one, but a moderate earthquake will crash that dam. And that's going to mean that it's going to affect the water supply for the people that live in town. It's going to affect the fishing industry, the research hub that we have south of town. It's going to devastate the tourism economy. And it's going to kill people when that water gushes through the gap in the dam and into the housing development just downstream. $80 million to fix that. 10,000 people, $80 million. They put up $6 million in the town. I went to the legislature, got them another $14 million. And then together we went back to Washington, D.C. and leveraged that $20 million now into an additional $60 million. So they've got the money they need to replace the dam. I mean, that's how you need to get things done because small towns can't afford these really, really big projects. And we need to work together to make it happen. And again, water, housing, homelessness, these are not Democratic issues or Republican issues. They're not urban issues or rural issues. They're Oregon issues. And working together, I believe we can make progress, and we have.
You have the opportunity, I believe, to bring forth, 2 bills, 3 bills?
In the short session, we get 2 bills each. In the
and
long
those
session,
would be what?
I've got an experienced legislator can parlay 2 bills into 3 or 4 bills.
Of course.
So first of all, I'm working on our marine reserves. They are now been with us for 10 years. We got them extended, but in the process, everybody says, we love our marine reserves. We're going to keep and sustain our marine reserves, and we're going to cut the marine reserve budget. I'm going,
Typical.
wait a minute. They wanted to eliminate a public information officer, a community relations position. I've got a bill that's going to add that back in. I've got this big bill dealing with water infrastructure, a statewide package that's going to run in the neighborhood of $50 million. It's going to fund a number of projects directly, between 12 and 20 projects. And then it's also going to create a ranking process for how we evaluate projects going forward. And I've been asked the question, well, if you're going to put a ranking process together, then why are you going to also fund these other folks over here? And my answer is because some of them can't wait. The communities are shovel ready. They've already invested their own money, and it's going to be consequential, which is to say that it's either going to create more housing or keep us in the housing we've got. And I don't want to wait a year for a grant program in the Department of Business Services to start getting money out on the street. An example of that here in Lincoln City, I got nearly $2 million for the Cultural Center in June of 2019. You were there.
Right.
And it took them 2.5 years to get the check. So we don't want to wait that long. So my second bill is dealing with water and sewer infrastructure, funding critical needs, and creating a process going forward. My third bill, and this is difficult stuff, but you know that I've been very involved in animal issues, animal welfare.
You've taken some heat over it as well.
Well, from time to time, you take on some big issues like the Primate Research Center at OSHU. I challenged them because of the horrific accidents that were occurring up there with very little accountability. And I was able to pass laws opening up their process, providing more transparency, more public access, and some responsibility for what happened. They went from adamantly opposing my bill to now saying that they proudly have one of the most open and transparent centers of that kind in the country. But yeah, I take some heat from that from time to time. But this time I've got a bill, and I don't think I'm going to take any heat at all. If you're squeamish, Roger, your listeners should hit the pause button. Because I want to tell you, I've got a bill that will criminalize animal crush videos here in Oregon. It's just as bad as it sounds. It's people that make videos
intentionally
of animals being tortured and sell those videos to people who get sexual gratification from watching them. It's a federal crime, but it's not an Oregon crime. And I want to criminalize it here in Oregon because the current situation is unless you're selling the stuff across state lines, there's no penalty for doing it. And we're going to put a stop to it here.
David Gomberg, we look forward to having you back again during the course of the session. We'll pick up the phone and hopefully be able to get you on the air with us as well.
Well, people can subscribe to my weekly newsletter.
Which they should.
And they can call me up, send me letters, any concerns people have. I want to hear from them this short session and any time in between.
State Representative David Gomberg, back in a moment.
One night, one stage. Woo! Country music's hottest supergroup, The Frontmen, featuring Richie McDonald, formerly Lone Star. Baby, I'm amazed by Larry Stewart, lead singer of Restless Heart. Skies, Texas. Tim Rushlow, formerly of Little Texas. God bless Texas. Chinook Winds Casino Resort. On sale now at Chinook Winds box office or at ChinookWinds.com. At Chinook Winds, where concerts are better at the beach.
Wouldn't it be great to have all your insurance needs handled by one agency? This is Charlotte Lado with Farmers Insurance and the Insurance Store. Visit our office next to the Wildflower Grill in Lincoln City. Let us be your one stop for your personal, commercial, health, and Medicare insurance needs.
If you're looking for great early garden fresh produce, it's Kenny's IGA in the Bay Area of Lincoln City. 4 generations of Morgans caring for your every grocery need. All of your favorite beverages, a full deli, meat, produce, and of course, groceries.
I'm Adina Zeller. Zellers is now in 2 North Lincoln County locations. The original Zellers in Rose Lodge and now Zellers in Lincoln City, formerly Maxwell's. Zellers with great family food and kickin' fun like our line dancing. Just wait until you try our homemade clam chowder.
And welcome back to the podcast. We have 2 special guests, one that I know intimately. One is my son, Phil Robertson.
Hello.
Who is just stepping No, not stepping down as president. You were reelected as vice president
Correct.
of Angels Anonymous.
Correct, yes. I oversee the Angel Ball and other things as far as that goes, yes.
Angel Ball this year, Phil, success?
Yes, it was. It was a huge success this year. We broke records as far as our overall income. We did exceptional this year, and that goes to all of our sponsors and everyone else that helped buy these Christmas trees, and of course all the board members that came out and helped us put this thing together. And yeah, it was a wonderful event.
Already December 7th.
Just mark your calendar. Next year, this
year.
Yep, December 7th.
It's only 11 months away.
That's right. Get your tickets now. No, tickets will be on sale in October. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, we are going to be doing the Angel Ball again. It'll be our 26th year, I believe it is.
Good event.
Yes, it's fantastic. Wonderful event.
My other guest is Amy Placati, and Amy is a board member of Angels Anonymous, but tonight was elected the president of the board.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Why, thank you. Yeah, it's quite an honor.
Angels means what to you, Amy?
You know, we just help so many people, and especially when the fires happened, how many families we really helped there, and it really just touched my heart. And yeah, I just think it's an incredible organization.
It really is. I don't think most of the people on the board understood until you've been on the board for a number of years just exactly how important it is.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when we take those phone calls and they, you know, they're just upset and they just don't have anywhere to turn, and that we can, you know, kind of be the light in their lives. It's just, it's amazing.
Feel good.
Yeah, really feel good.
Now, as president of the board of directors, again, our thanks to Jim Davis stepping down. Jim was president of the board for 12, 13 years, somewhere.
I came on the board in 2010, and he was president then.
Mm-hmm. And I was the 10 years prior to that.
Right.
The very first president of the board was a woman, and it's about time we got back to that again.
Yeah. And I think I've been on the board since 2012. Yeah, it's been a while. So,
what gives you the most pleasure about being on the board?
Well, like I said, just how many people we help. You know, people who don't have power. You know, we just experienced a power outage, and look at how devastated people were for just not having power for 3 days. Well, we have some families that haven't had power for a month, and they've got children, and you know, we're coming to their rescue. And I just really, they are just so thankful, too, when we do help them. They're just so appreciative. You know, they're down and out.
I think what I like best about the board is the diversity.
Mm-hmm.
It is probably the most diverse group of people that you're going to find in North Lincoln County.
Yeah.
It just works well. Phil has been on the board a number of years as well. And what gives you the best?
I think Amy nailed it. When you have somebody that comes in, they're desperate, and, you know, whether it's housing or whatever it is, and you're able to, you know, help them stay in their home, or, like you said, get their power back on, or whatever it is. Or sometimes it's food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, whatever it is. I mean, I think, you know, going back and thinking about it, you know, when we helped this gal build a ramp one year, she had become disabled, and, you know, it's like it was a huge expense. And Jim sent his crew out almost immediately, Mr. Davis did. And it was done, and, I mean, she couldn't be more thankful. I mean, and then so, yeah, I think that's the biggest reward. Again, we are anonymous, so we don't ever see these people who they are, but, I mean, we do, because it's a small community, so.
Yeah, it's a little tough to disguise yourself.
Yeah, it
is. as Angels Anonymous, and really, it's been going on now for close to 30 years since this organization began. And the amount of money, I know the treasurer announced tonight that we've gone through several thousands of dollars in this past year.
I think he said we helped 58 families.
That's a lot of bodies.
Yeah, you know, and an average of, you know, a couple $1,000s probably each, you know, so it's a lot of money that goes out there.
Okay, what is the criteria for helping a family?
For helping a family, well, they need to be living here in North Lincoln County for 18 months. Yeah. It needs to be an immediate need. And
well, yeah, I mean, you know, the basic needs. We're kind of like the ones that help that fall through the cracks a little bit. So sometimes it's just somebody that needs, you know, a couple $1,000s to get caught up on rent, and then they're going to be okay. You know, whether, you know, sometimes a parent may have passed away, or they had a car breakdown or something that their expense. You know, it's the little things like that we can help out with sometimes. So. it's great. It's a great feeling to do. So.
And you know what else I really, to your last question, what I also find really heartwarming is when we get donations or thank you cards from people who we've helped in the past. You know, like we helped somebody 5 years ago and now they're on their feet and doing great. And so now every year they're sending donations to us.
And that is wonderful.
Yeah, and I love to see that.
Paying it back, paying it forward.
Yeah.
I love it. It is something that I take great pride in, Angels Anonymous. And again, thanks to those that started. Thanks to you that are continuing to make it grow and flourish and do what needs to be done for the community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great event. Thanks for starting it.
December 7th.
Yeah, mark your calendar.
And there's a lot of other events that we could always use help with.
Right. Well, Surf City every year, I think it's the third, fourth Saturday of August or September.
Giving strokes to Chinook Winds Casino.
Oh, yeah. You can't say enough about Chinook Winds and what they do for Angels. I mean, they give us the room at the Angel Ball.
True.
They help. We come and walk around and park cars for a little bit at the Surf City, and they give us all the T-shirt revenues, and we make a few $1,000s.
The sound off?
The sound off is amazing. Scott started that program there. Yeah, another board member.
All right. The Vice President, Phil Robertson. The new president, Amy Placati.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thanks for taking
Thank
it
you
on.
very much.
We'll be back in just a moment.
One of country music's hottest duos, Low Cash. Live in concert, Saturday, January 20th, 8 p.m., Chinook Winds Casino Resort. Platinum selling Low Cash. Live on sale now at the Chinook Winds box office or at ChinookWinds.com. More info at lowcash.com. Chinook Winds, where concerts are better at the beach.
On our last program of the podcast, we talked about plays and good, clean family fun in plays. The Lincoln City Playhouse people are getting ready to produce their next show. And if you'd like to help the program out and help kids at the same time, Lincoln City Playhouse is the place to turn to. Get a hold of Karen Sandquist, the Executive Artistic Director, and she will be more than happy to accept your help. And Theater West, we've talked about Misery, right, Paul?
Yeah, in fact, I went and saw it with Allison and my mother-in-law, and we went and saw it last weekend. Yeah, it was great. Right before the storm.
Right before the storm. They had to give it up for Saturday, I believe, so they will be back on stage this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We want people to know about Misery.
Indeed, yeah. Go see.
I don't know why we laugh every time we say
it's
Misery.
funny. It's funny. It is kind of a dark comedy. It has a comedic component to it.
Okay.
But it is, it's a Stephen King, novel.
It's not designed to be ha-ha.
No, it's definitely not the ha-ha, but it definitely has, a bit of a black comedy.
And how about the attendance? What did you see there?
Yeah, they were pretty full up. Yeah, when we were there, they got the nice new seats. Obviously, they've had for a few years now, since not your benches like they had there at the Jack Coyne Theater for so many years. So another attribute. Yeah, it was good. We got in there and enjoyed the show. Saw some people we knew and lots of people who we didn't too. So it was good.
And for tickets, call 994-5663. Leave a message on the message machine. They'll get back to you, and go see and enjoy Misery at Theater West. Now, both sides of Cascade Head, you are involved in this as well.
Indeed. So this is another event at the Pelican Brew Pub down at Siletz Bay that the Cascade Head Bicer Collaborative is putting on. It's next Thursday, and so not the day this airs, but the following Thursday, January 25th, from 6 to 8. And it's going to be called Two Sides of Cascade Head, and it's a 150-year history of the Salmon River Estuary and of Nesquin. And we have a historian that's joining us, Dr. Stephen Dow Beckham.
Uh-huh.
Please, if you can, come join us. Limited seating, but if you're there, we'll hopefully have a seat for you. There's about 45 seats up top, and come join us.
Now, is it by reservation? Since
it is not. Seating? No, it's open.
First come, first serve.
That's it, yeah.
And the cost?
Free.
Free. That free is a very good price.
We like free.
Thank you, Tom Peterson.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers Tom Peterson.
Wake up, Portland, wake up.
Bang, bang, got a bang on the glass, got a bang on the television set. Wake up, Portland. And again, it is next Thursday, correct?
Yes, exactly. Yep. Next Thursday, January 25th. Yep, 6 to 8.
And for all of the veterans out there, remember there's a homemade soup and sandwich luncheon available to you the second and fourth Wednesdays of each month. It's sponsored by the Ocean Lake, or the Elks, Lincoln City Elks. I started to say Ocean Lake Elks Lodge. That's a throwback to a lot of years ago. It is sponsored by the Lincoln City Elks Lodge, located right next door to Bi-Mart. So there's an opportunity for veterans to get together, talk about what they did in the service, and of course, sometimes it's just the ability to visit with somebody of common values. Also, Rec Kids is sponsored by the Lincoln City Parks and Recreation Department. There is so many activities taking place through the Parks and Rec office. Call 994-2131 for more information. Registration not only for the children, but for the adults. The swimming pool, the recreation area, the gymnasium, it just goes on and on and on.
Quite a facility there. It
really is. It's something to take pride in.
Oh, for sure. Big asset for the community.
Now, speaking of taking pride, drove past the Cultural Center, and the Lincoln City Kiwanis Club exhibit is in the process of being built now. It is going to be fun.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it myself.
There will be a special dedication activity for that when it is complete and when the weather is a little more cooperative.
Well, and speaking of the weather, I just want to give a shout out to all those people that have worked all through those weather events.
Oh, yes.
Putting power lines back up, making sure roads were clear, keeping our water running and our sewers flushing.
Telephone,
huge shout out to the
cable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. The number of bodies that are out there doing the yeoman's work, if you will.
Police and fire.
Oh, goodness.
Ambulance services, the hospital, obviously. It's just really incredible what goes into keeping a community running. And you really feel it when you have things like a power outage or, ice storm like we had, so lots of things.
Need a good reminder now, then and again.
We do. And it just is a shout out to our own selves, to complete a preparedness kit, a go bag, have a radio, have, batteries, have the flashlights, have food and water for your needs for, they say up to 2 weeks, really, because,
right.
If we're talking about the big one, the tsunami, the big one, that's going to be more than a couple of days of power outs. It's not something to take lightly. So just an opportunity to start thinking about preparedness and re-upping your supplies.
And you got to give thought to the fact that if we do get the big one, when we do get the big one, they're not going to be hurting over here from the valley to help us because they may not, A, be able to get here, and B, they've got enough to take care of their own.
There's going to be 3 million people that are needing help there, too, yeah.
So be prepared. Be prepared. Be prepared. I don't know how many times we can say it, and way too many times we just ignore it. We think about it when it happens, but the mind slips past so quickly. That will do it to the doings on the Double R Show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share so you and your family and friends around the world and across the street, where in North Dakota today, the wind chill was 70 degrees below zero.
That's crazy.
We're not all that cold here on the Oregon coast when you look at minus 70 in North Dakota. And we used to live in that. Join us again next time on the Double R Show. For Paul Jetta, I am Double R. Have yourself a happy day.
You've been listening to The Double R Show. Join Roger and Paul Robertson as they explore everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, produced by Always Productions and hosted by Roger Robertson. Have a story? Email contact@alwaysproductions.com or call 458-201-3039. For The Double R Show, I'm Jana Grahn.